Thank you very much, madam. So kind of you for introducing me. I'm honored and humbled to be invited to say a few words about a great person with whom I have links. And word Canada has been mentioned. My daughter lives in Canada, so I have a link over there. And I come across with Wilfred Cantwell Smith in my early age, while I was a student and doing my BA degree. I come across with this first book, Islam in Modern India, and that impressed me because that was a qualitative work and excellent work to explain the situation about Islam in those days, and that was a wonderful expose. I got it from him, and later on I read his 3-4 other books, which I can talk a little bit later. But my another connection with him was that he taught in an institute in Lahore called Foreign Christian College, who gave me refuge after I was expelled or removed from East Pakistan arbitrarily in 1971 war, and my flat was burned down, and that was act of aggression in which I came Lahore, my city of birth, and there Foreign Christian College gave me refuge and offered me a job to teach. And later on I learned that Wilfred Cantwell Smith was a teacher in Foreign Christian College in Lahore as well. So that was my another second connection with that great personality of our time, who would not become a recent modern figure of the last century to preach and practice not only interfaith but religious pluralism by his words and by his deeds. And his all 3 books, which I'm going to mention very briefly, has actually made an impact in the interfaith world throughout everywhere in the countries wherever I visit, because he started in a movement academically, of course, but he was the father figure to many of his students, and he used to believe not only in dialogue but also in proper honest conversation, deep honest conversation. He used to hold every day in the afternoon to all his students. He used to ring the bell from the top of the, what we call it, floor of his place where he was teaching, and bring everyone, and then have to have some sort of dialogue there, almost daily basis, ritually. And so he practiced and he preached as well there. What are we talking about today? We're talking about foundation of religious pluralism and links with Cantwell Smith, Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith, as I say, was a prolific writer and a great thinker and challenging and committed Christian, though some places you can read it that he probably had been searching the truth. But the fact is that he was ordained missionary and Christian, remained Christian missionary all his life. So any rumor you might have heard that he have left Christian faith is false, it's not right. Though that's true that in 1946 he was expelled from India because allegedly at that time British India under the British rule had a terrible view about communism or 1917 revolution of Russia and China and so on and so forth, and Britain never liked anyone linked with that part of the world. So it was allegedly he had some feeling for communism or for poor people, in bluntly if I say so. So he was asked to remove himself from India and never come back. But we know from the fact, I haven't checked the whole details, but in 1963 he did go back to India, and in my opinion, because British Raj was finished in 1947, Indian government very wisely decided, this very wise and able man, to come back and to give to the Indian as well as the world wisdom of his knowledge to be spread around. So that little bit footnote was also removed from his life, and he was very, very influential. What he did, if we can go back to his three main, of course he has written many articles and many writings, but these three are the key, in my opinion, which have changed me and helped me to understand the plurality of the world which we live in. And I will make a link to my faith in a minute. But let me say what his views are. Modern Islam, Islam in modern India was his first exposé in which he was linking other than Christianity directly, because he was a professor of Islamic studies, and he did work, what we call it, not only in Cambridge under late Gibb, who was also very, very authoritarian figure of his own time, but very, very strong in various views. But he made up his own impact even while he was doing research at the time. But later on he developed his own thoughts in Harvard and many other places. But mostly he was influenced by India. India made a great impact upon Mr. Smith, and that really remained with him throughout. Though his mastery of various languages helped him to understand the people directly. I know from a great leader of my time, Abul Ala Maududi from Lahore, that Mr. Smith visited him in his home in Lahore and has an exchange of various years, and especially two questions Maududi told me personally that Wilfred Cantwell has in mind, that why Muslims do not like to impeach their rulers when they go astray, when they don't follow the path. And of course, Maududi said, we don't have answer in our writings of this question. And this man, clever man, actually touched the whole Muslim political life in one question, that why Muslims cannot impeach their rulers when they do not follow the Islamic teachings as you say Quran and Sunnah, God's words and Prophet's teaching. If anybody goes wrong, what do you do with them? And obviously that's the weaknesses within Muslim theology or political science, that we don't have answer to that critical question. And second most important thing he says, Islam preach plurality of the world, not only in individual but also the faiths, but do not practice it. But you always claim we are right and you all are wrong, and so bluntly that the link between Muslim world and the others are always remain thin. Though in practical way Muslims have treated others comparatively better, but still in practice Muslims have not come forward in order of doing their text and practice, theory and practice similar. And that is still the situation when we tell about anyone else about Islam. They say, for God's sakes, don't look to the Muslims, look to our books, look to what Islam says. And a lot of in Western world people ask me, no, we wanted to meet the people who actually practice what you say is Islam. Where are those people? We want to meet that. I think this is another point which Smith had made it absolutely clear in his first book, and made me great impression that he understood not only Islam correctly, but applied Islam in Indian context also very well, because that's where his strength was. He didn't go much to the Arab world and many other parts of the world, so he's seen the multiplicity of India at that time. So moving on.